Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
What a joy it is to be here this morning with you people. It's a great, great thrill to get together with people you love and the people that are of like precious faith. I told Mike this morning the fact that Nancy was a prophet. Now, I want you to think about that for a minute. The second hymn that we sang this morning, there shall be showers of blessing. And it's raining outside. So I told Mike that, and Mike got to be in charge of it. I want to begin this morning by simply saying I want to thank everybody for their support, their faithfulness over the past year. I appreciate every one of you, and I think the Lord is very pleased with what we've tried to do here. And He knows of our vision, of the things that we would want, and we pray that He will help us gain them. I also want to thank everybody for the gifts, the prayers, the cards, and the greetings that they gave to me and to others. It's always a blessing to be able to receive a Christmas greeting from those that you like. Also, I want to thank Nancy and her family. Nancy is the only one person I know of that can bring people down from Pennsylvania to help prepare a gathering like we had last week. Now, in all seriousness, I appreciate Nancy. I appreciate her family because her whole family joined in to work with that. I think little blueberry muffins came from Jenny. And I know that Sandy and Lee put a lot of work in bringing the chairs up and down the steps, and I appreciate that. And what a joy it is to have Nancy in our congregation. So now that I've said this, I want to start with a very, very difficult sermon. I think of your faithfulness over the past year, and I appreciate you putting up with me the way you have. It's always a joy to know that you love me and love the Lord enough to be able to come to church. I tell people that the reason I sit down and preach is because you can't stand me. And the truth is that I can't stand that long in order to be able to preach a message. But normally when we come to the end of the year, we look at the coming year with a lot of optimism. Oh, we sit down and we think about the life that has happened and things that happened over the past year. And we begin to think about changes that we want to make by making resolutions. Some of us have stopped making resolutions and just try to say, well, I'm going to try to do better. Teams that have lost, sports teams that have lost, have the they cry out, wait till next year. And I think Ohio State's doing that right now. Wait until next year. But as you think about the year that is past and the year that is coming, do we look at it with optimism or with pessimism? I'm going to honestly confess to you that I do not believe that this morning I can look for 2020 to be a good year. There are too many negative things that are happening in our world today and in our nation today that have me deeply concerned. I feel that the things that are happening are going to continue to happen. And I think that things today are a lot worse than they've ever been in my lifetime. I'm not going to say in the lifetime of our nation because we have gone through difficult times. And I think difficult times are ahead for us right now. And the reason I say this is, think of what's going on. Let me give you a breakdown of some of the things that have happened. First of all, you look at our nation's capital. I don't think I've seen people on different sides of the aisle having strong opinions about what they believe is good for our nation. But I've never I don't think I've ever seen it as bad as it is right now. It has boiled down to name-calling, false accusations, and hatred to the point that they have forgotten why they were elected. And I'm not speaking against the Democrats, nor am I speaking against the Republicans. I am speaking against the atmosphere that has been created in Washington as a result of all the things that are happening. I don't think I need to dwell on that. And what the outcome will be, I do not know. And there are people that will disagree with my opinion, so be it. But I think it is a sign of difficult times which lie ahead for us as a nation. Then again, and I'm going to put the blame on him, Steve has showed me some things on Facebook that have me deeply disturbed. Steve has a friend that has two friends that have investigated this, what I want to say right now, thoroughly. And they found out what is there happening with what I'm going to say is true. The state of West Virginia, not West Virginia, but the state of Virginia, have proposed laws before their legislature that they are going to remove the guns from every person that lives in Virginia. The police departments have been notified that they are going to be responsible, even though this legislation has not passed yet, that they are going to be responsible for gathering up all these guns. The police departments have already said we're not going to do it because it's against the Constitution. And the elected officials have already declared that if the police departments do not do it, they're going to call in the National Guard to take away the guns from the people. One of Steve's friends says all the rednecks and mountain people or backyard people are all ready to fight to the death for their right to have a gun. Now that scares me. Well, it's very unlikely that these things might go through because it's unconstitutional. Violation of the Second Amendment. It does demonstrate the atmosphere. It does nothing but create pessimism to those that know. If you take the guns away from people, you open the door for totalitarian government. And our democracy, our republic, and it's a democratic republic, is not considered. Oh, we could talk about the moral issues. Things that the Bible declares as being sin and unrighteousness are now being declared as an acceptable lifestyle and considered to be a cause to rally around in order to be able to promote their cause. And that scares me. We find that these things are really filtering down into our churches. And when I say our churches, I'm speaking of every denomination upon the face of this earth. Morally, when we think about what's going on, abortion being legal, the killing of innocent children, murder, in my opinion. And do you realize that one doctor practicing abortion can eliminate more people, kill more babies unborn, than a person with a gun in some of these mass shootings that take place? I'm scared. Life is no longer to be considered to be a thing that is sacred or given from God. Is it any wonder when we disregard the life of an unborn? Those that are in prison have more rights than those that have yet to be born into this world. Consider the churches. Consider the churches. People are looking for entertainment more than worship. They're looking for an acceptance of their consideration. I know of a man, I was very close to the man, here in Huntington, that when he moved here, he looked for a church that would go along with his ideas, end quote. And he ended up with a very liberal church in Ashland that accepted everything he did as being acceptable in the eyes of God. And they were not, in my opinion. Church people can go along with church people. There is a division that has taken place in many churches today. And the churches that are growing seem to be the churches that are advocating the entertainment rather than the truth of the gospel. I go into some of these churches, and I have attended some. And let me tell you that I feel like I'm more an observer than I am a participant. Especially when it comes to this praise type music. Brothers and sisters, we're living in difficult times. It's like the song said, troublesome times are here, filling our hearts with fear. And I'm not saying that Jesus is coming soon. I don't know. But it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. And it's everything, all the atmosphere is spilling over into the churches. And the fellowship of the churches are being separate. There is one of our churches in this area that has just recently suffered a major split. I'm talking about the Church of Christ. I heard about it at Waffle House. And my feeling was, you're kidding me. And they confirmed that it was true. A couple days later, I ran into one of their members in Kroger's in Proctorville. Steve said, I got to do something. He went and stopped talking. And I was left alone with him, so I asked him, I said, Joe, I hear some things about your church where you get in. He said, yeah, Phil, I know where you're going. I know what you're going to say. And I said, well, what happened? He said, well, the only thing I'm going to say is that some people don't want to follow the rules. So now we have two churches that are struggling, and not one that is prospering. Several scriptures have gone through my mind. And by the way, this has just been a basis of sermons I'm going to be preaching through the month of January, if God wills. There's several scriptures come to mind. Psalms 133, the very first verse. Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. How great it is when the church is united. I have served churches in the past that have endured splits. One of them is a major church right now, the other suffer for dying. And the reason why they suffer is because they cannot forgive the other group. How pleasant it is when we dwell together in unity. In the 12th chapter of the book of Matthew, Jesus was being accused of casting out demons by the power of the devil, by the power of Beelzebub. And this is Jesus' answer. Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. And every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself, and how shall his kingdom stand? What do you think? Are we seeing the end of the uniqueness of our Constitution? Are we seeing the end of the truth of the gospel of Jesus Christ, of which I believe there is no end? Excuse me. And I believe that the statement that Jesus made this time is axiomatic. It's axiomatic. Wherever there is division, wherever there is disharmony, wherever there is a division taking place, arguments, debate, failure is soon to come. In Ephesians, the 4th chapter, we find an answer. And Paul, I think, was concerned about what I'm talking about right now in his time, in his day. But in the 4th chapter, it says, I am therefore the prisoner of the Lord. Beseech you that you walk worthy of the vocation wherewith you are called, with all lowliness and meekness, with long-suffering. Uh-oh. That's what we don't see. It used to be that people that were of different opinions, different persuasions, had respect for each other. It's not there now. Forbearing one another in love, Paul says, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. We don't have that today. There is one body, one Spirit, even so you are called into one hope of your calling. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all, and through all, and in all. So like a summary there is law. And unto every one of you is given grace, according to the measure of the gift of Christ. Oh, what a powerful passage. You may be getting tired of hearing that particular passage by the end of the month, January. But I think there's so much truth there that it is amazing. 1 Corinthians, the 1st chapter, the 10th verse. Now I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercy in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that you all speak the same thing, and that there be no divisions among you, but that ye be perfectly joined together in the same mind and the same judgment. For it hath been declared unto me of you, my brethren, by them that are the house of Chloe, that there are contentions among you. Now I say that every one of you saith, I am of Paul, I am of Apollos, I am Cephas, I am of Christ. Is Christ divided? Was Paul crucified for you? Or were you baptized in the name of Paul? He goes on. It was back in the 80s when I ministered to the church in Corbin, Kentucky, that I received a phone call from a person I knew that was of the Methodist Church. At that particular time, he was preaching in a Pentecostal church, but he was told me by his own self many times that he was more interested in the Church of God. That particular gentleman happened to be my brother's brother-in-law. And he lived pretty far from Corbin, Kentucky, and he had a member of the church that he was serving in the Corbin Hospital. He wanted to talk to me. And as I made arrangements to meet him in the church office and to talk to him, he asked me if I would minister to the family that had a member in the hospital and the member was dying. And I said I would. And I was getting ready to go to the Kentucky ministers meeting for the Church of Christ Christian Church. So I said, Jim, you want to go with me? He looked at me and said, Phil, I can't afford it. I said, I didn't ask you if you could afford it. I said, do you want to go with me? And he said, well, if I can get the money to go, I will. I went to our leaders and asked the leaders if they would allow him to go with us to this particular meeting, and they paid for his way. Gave him a little bit of extra money to spend in case he wanted to buy something. In fact, I'll be honest with you, they gave him more money than they gave me. But that's fine. So we met in Corbin. He parked his car in the church parking lot. And we traveled together and we got talking. And he told me that one of the ministers of the Church of Christ told him that unless he accepted the name Church of Christ, he was going to hell. And I told him that I believe that the church ought to be called Church of Christ. I said, but if I hold that name up as dividing the members of the body of Christ as a dividing element, I'm just as wrong as anybody else. I said, I hold the name Church of Christ up as a unifying, not a dividing element in the church. Jim and I had good fellowship until we moved back to Indiana. But we're living in trouble sometimes. I have to look for you. I'm pessimistic. Unless I see some significant changes made and God's hand working in a powerful way. But what is the message for us today? What are the messages? Listen to what Paul writes in Romans, the 8th chapter, beginning with the 31st verse. What shall we say then to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? He that spared not his own son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall we not with him also freely give us all things? Who shall say then to the charge of God's elect, what shall any say, who shall say anything to God's elect? Is God, and is God that justifieth? It is he that condemneth. It is Christ that died, yea, rather than is risen again, who is given at the right hand of God, who also make intercession for us. Who shall they separate us from the law of Christ? Shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword? As it is written, for all these things, we are more than conquerors. I love that term. Through him that loved us. For I am persuaded that neither life, nor death, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things yet to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of God which is in Christ Jesus our Lord. Brethren, if I have one message this morning, I would tell you to keep on keeping on. Put your faith, your trust in God. Because when God dwells in us, we become more than conquerors over all things that happen. Stand up for Jesus. How beautiful hymn. A couple verses in there. Not the first verse, but a couple verses. Stand up for Jesus. The trumpet call obey. Forth to the mighty conflict. In this his glorious day. Ye that are a brave man, now serve him against outnumbered foes. Let courage rise with danger, and strength to strength opposed. Stand up for Jesus. Stand in his strength alone. The arm of flesh will fail you. You dare not trust your own. Put on the gospel armor. Each piece put on with prayer. Where duty calls or danger. Be never wanting there. What a thrill. What a joy. To know that through Jesus Christ we can conquer all things. And I firmly believe that we can change the world if we stand up for Jesus Christ. We're going to be singing our song of invitation. One verse I'm almost persuaded, and we invite you to come if you have a decision to make.